Okay. Hi to my 27 subscribers and anybody else who watches this video. Okay. This video is going to be about this book. I had a dream about this book recently. So, I'm going to read this book. It's Mark R. Levin wrote it. It's American MarXism. Okay. On the back, it says, it's here. American Marxism has made great progress toward instituting its goals over the last several years. If it is to be defeated, as it must, albeit a daunting and complex mission, its existence must first be acknowledged and labeled for what it is. The urgency of the moment must be realized, and the emergence of a unified patriotic front of previously docile, divergent, and or disputatious societal, cultural, and political factions and forces, which have in common their belief that America is worth defending, must immediately galvanize around the rally to the cause. We must rise to the challenge, as did our founding fathers when they confronted the most powerful force on earth, the British Empire, and defeated it. Admittedly, in numerous ways, today's threat is more Byzantine and as it now inhabits most of our institutions and menaces from within, making engagement difficult and complicated. Nonetheless, I fervently believe America as we know it will be forever lost if we do not prevail. From chapter 1. So, that's what it says. Okay. I bought this. I went to Illinois one time. I forgot when it was. And I saw it at Walmart. I was like, oh, I'm just going to buy some books. Sometimes my mom does that. And she's like, she just buys like books, you know, just to read. And I was like, oh, I'm going to buy some books just to read. And I saw this and I saw the Russian symbol on it. So that's why I bought it, because I had that vision of that Russian symbol. So I was like, oh, I'm buying that book. Okay, so, and it was the only one there with the Russian symbol on it. So, okay. Okay, so chapter 1. It's here. The counter-evolution to the American Revolution is in full force, and it can no longer be dismissed or ignored, for it is devouring our society and culture, swirling around our everyday lives, and ubiquitous in our politics, schools, media, and entertainment. Once a mostly unrelatable fringe and subterranean movement, it is here. It is everywhere. You, your children, and your grandchildren are now immersed in it, and it threatens to destroy the greatest nation ever established, along with your freedom, family, and security. Of course, the primary difference between the counter-revolution and the American Revolution is that the former seeks to destroy American society and impose autocratic rule, and the latter sought to protect American society and the institute representative government. The counter-revolution, or movement, of which I speak is MarXism. I have written about MarXism at length in 2 earlier books, Ameritopia and Rediscovering Americanism and the Tyranny of Progressivism, and discuss it regularly on my radio and television shows. There are also untold numbers of books written about MarXism. It is not my purpose to contribute yet another long treatise to the many that exist. nor is it not possible given the focus and limitations of this book. But the application and adaptation of core Marxist teaching to American society and culture, what I call American Marxism, must be addressed and confronted, lest we are smothered by its modern manifestations. And make no mistake, the situation today is dire. In America, many Marxists cloak themselves in phrases like progressives, Democrat, socialists, social activists, community activists, etc. As most Americans remain openly hostile to the name Marxism, they operate under myriad newly minted organizational or identifying nomenclatures such as Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the Squad, etc., and they claim to promote economic justice, environmental justice, racial equity, gender equity, etc. They have invented new theories like critical race theory and phrases and terminologies linked to or fit into Marxist construct. Moreover, they claim the dominant culture and capitalist systems are unjust and inequitable, racist and sexist, colonialists and imperialists, materialistic and destructive of the environment. Of course, the purpose is to tear down and tear apart the nation for 1,000 reasons and in 1,000 ways, thereby dispiriting and demoralizing the public, undermining the citizenry's confidence in the nation's institutions, traditions, and customs, creating one calamity after another, weakening the nation from within, and ultimately destroying what we know as an American republicanism and capitalism. However, there should be no mistake that various leaders of this counter-revolution are increasingly outspoken and brazen about who they are, including bands of openly Marxist professors and activists, and they are supported by a core group of zombie-like woke followers. Whatever their labels and self-descriptions, the essential characteristics of their beliefs, statements, and policies exhibit core Marxist dogma. Moreover, they occupy our colleges and universities, newsrooms and social media, boardrooms and entertainment, and their ideas are prominent within the Democratic Party, the Oval Office, and the halls of Congress. Their influence is seen and felt among the most witting as well as the unsuspecting, and in news reporting, movies, television shows, and commercials, publishing, and sports, as well as teacher training and classrooms curriculum throughout America's public school system. They use the tactics of propaganda and indoctrination and demand conformity and compliance, silencing contrary voices through repressive tactics such as the cancel culture, which destroys reputations and careers, censoring and banning mostly patriotic and contrary viewpoints on social media, even including former President Donald Trump, and attacking academic freedom and intellectual interchange in higher education. Indeed, they take aim at all aspects of the culture, historical monuments, including memorials to Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, abolitionist Frederick Douglass, and the 54th Massachusetts Black Union Regiment, Mark Twain, William Shakespeare, Mr. Potato Head, Dr. Seuss, Disney cartoons, ad infinitum. Pronouns are banned and replaced with nondescript words so as not to offend 58 flavors of gender identification. Past social media posts are scrutinized for early indignations of insufficient fealty to the present day Marxist hegemony. Journalism and editorial pages are sanitized of non believers. And yet, historical and present day experience shows that Marxism and its supposed workers' paradise are responsible for the death of tens of millions of human beings and the impoverishment and enslavement of over a billion more. Indeed, Marx was wrong about almost everything. The Industrial Revolution created a vast middle class unmatched at any time in the world history, as opposed to an army of angry proletariat revolutionaries hell-bent on overthrowing the capitalist system. And despite the Marxist class warfare rhetoric of Democratic Party politicians and their surrogates, with technological and other advances, capitalism has created unimaginable and unparalleled wealth for more people in all walks of life than any other economic system. Marx insists that labor alone creates value is also incorrect. If that were the case, the third world would not be the third world. It would be flourishing. Longer workdays do not ensure wealth creation or growth. Of course, labor is a very important part of economic value and production. But without capital investment, entrepreneurship, and sensible risk-taking, wise management, etc., businesses would fail, as many do. As any businessman would tell you, there are many decisions that go into running a successful enterprise. Furthermore, all labor is not alike. That is, there are different specialties, backgrounds, and approaches both within the workforce and applicable to certain businesses that make references to the proletariat nonsensical. In addition, labor alone does not determine the value of a product or service. Obviously, it contributes to it. However, consumers play the major role. They create the demand, and depending on the demand, business and labor provide the supply. In other words, capitalism caters to desires and needs of the masses. Also, profit does not create worker exploitation as Marx insisted. On the contrary, it makes possible increased worker pay, benefits, security, and job opportunities. Nor was America's early economic success built on imperialism or colonialism. The very resources America is falsely accused of plundering from other countries have not, in and of themselves, made those countries wealthy, even though they are the repository of the resources. American know-how and ingenuity, born of freedom and capitalism, are the source of societal and economic development and advancement. What then is the appeal of Marxism? American Marxism has adapted the language and allure of utopianism, which I wrote about at length in my book, Ameritopia. It is tyranny designed as a desirable, workable, and even paradisical governing ideology. There are unlimited utopian constructs, for the mind is capable of infinite fantasies. But there are common themes. The fantasies take the form of grand social plans or experiments, the impracticability and impossibility of which, in small ways and large, lead to the individual's subjugation. Indeed, the economic and cultural agenda driven by President Joe Biden and the Democratic Party provide ample examples of this ideology and behavior at work. They include massive deficit spending, confiscatory taxation, and the regulation of all things large and small. Drenched in Marxist class warfare propaganda and a slew of executive orders claiming to end numerous historical and cultural injustices. So, too, does their demand for absolute one-party control over the body politic through various extra-constitutional schemes and other means. As Marxism does not tolerate the competition of ideas or political parties. These efforts include changing the voting system to ensure Democratic Party control for decades, which has as its purpose of eradication of the Republican Party and political competition, attempting to eliminate the Senate filibuster rule so all manner of laws can be imposed on the country without effective deliberation or challenge, threatening the breach separation of powers and judicial independence by plotting to pack the Supreme Court with like-minded ideological planning to add Democratic seats to the Senate to ensure its control over that body, using tens of billions of taxpayer funds to subsidize and strengthen core parts of the Democratic Party base, such as unions and political activists, and facilitating massive illegal immigration, the purpose of which is to, among other things, alter the nation's demographics and eventually add significantly to the pro-Democratic Party voting base. These actions and designs, among others, are evidence of an autocratic, power-hungry, ideological movement that rejects political and traditional comity and seeks to permanently crush its opposition and emerge as the sole political and governmental power. The latter explains the true motivation of the obsessive and unremitting war against the candidacy and presidency of Donald Trump and his tens of millions of supporters. The Democratic Party, aligned with its surrogates in the media, academia, and the bureaucratic Leviathan, colluded to discredit and cripple Trump's presidency and destroy him personally by unleashing an onslaught of slanders, conspiracy theories, criminal and congressional investigations, impeachments, and coup attempts, the likes of which this nation has never experienced. The unremitting, harmonized, and ferocious blitz was aimed not only at the former president, but his followers and voters. Their purpose was to break the back and spirit of the political opposition and clear the field of obstacles to power and governance. Indeed, the Democratic Party continues to pursue now private citizen Trump, having gained access to his tax returns through the offices of elected Democratic officials, including the Manhattan District Attorney and aggressive partisan. Okay, I'm gonna stop there so this video isn't that long and it doesn't cut me off and I have no idea where it ended, so. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.